Is it a war against the Ghana Journalists Association with a statement that it recently issued? A statement of caution, if you like. Following that, the Media Foundation for West Africa has also issued a statement also condemning that GJA statement, essentially saying it is out of context. But I guess what was not expected was the one that came through from the anti-corruption civil society, also disagreeing with the GJA yesterday. We thought we would have a conversation on the back of this, but just a little background. Remember that the Ghana Journalists Association issued a statement cautioning the media to be circumspect in their reportage, especially with regard to investigative stories. In a statement signed by its president, Mr. Afel Moni, the GJA urged journalists to verify all facts when they conducted their investigative piece, adding that such reportage must be strictly guided by ethical values and especially the GJA Code of Ethics. It is adherence to ethical principles which will serve as the shield to the investigative journalist and provide the canopy of credibility to his or her work, it said. And then one that perhaps is crucial is where the statement said, quote, "We should be mindful of using the media to wage a smear campaign against individuals, especially local businesses and personalities who have made substantial contribution to the growth of the economy," unquote. Yesterday, the statement that came through from the Anti-Corruption Civil Society said the Ghana Integrity Initiative, okay, well, quite a number of them, but the statement ostensibly cautioning the media against using its platforms to attack indigenous businesses doing their best to promote Ghana's social and economic development, taken on a face value, is a genuine expression of concern over a matter within GJA's mandate. However, current developments in the local media suggest a more sinister possibility. But I have Mr. Edem Senanu, who is co-chair Citizen Movement Against Corruption. He certainly agrees with this statement, a bit that I have read. I want to say good morning to you and thank you for coming.
Good morning.
First of all, what's the big deal? GJA cautioning its members against something that they feel they should be prompting them about?
Well, I think to better frame this discussion, let me take a step back and talk a bit about good governance. And so typically we say that good governance is not readily supplied. It must be constantly demanded. And the cost of a thriving democracy is eternal vigilance by the citizens. Now, this vigilance is really to the extent of the information that is available so that you understand what is going on in government and you can influence it. If you take Article 35(6)(d), it talks about making democracy a reality through ensuring that citizens participate. Now, the challenge we have, if you take a nation and you want to do an assessment of good governance, we'll look at transparency and accountability, which essentially is the flow or accessibility of information. We'll look at participation, we'll look at systems and control. If you take the two pillars of transparency and accountability and participation, basically information is important. And the challenge we have is that there is not enough information about what goes on in government to the extent that the citizen can influence the policies, the programs, etc. So we find that the investigative journalists and media entities like multimedia that are doing this type of work are helping the citizen play his or her role in ensuring good governance. Now, there's a risk to it. Yes, there's a cost element in trying to pursue and investigate, but there's a personal risk and discomfort when you engage in these things. We think that the GJA ought to be recognizing the fact that anybody, whether corporate or individual, engaging in this is doing it at a great cost. That's one. That cost ought to have reflected in their statement. Two, the timing of the statement, to the extent that there was just one individual of that kind of stature whose issue was being discussed in the media at the time, and then they were trying to suggest, seems to suggest to us that this was all about a particular group of companies. And it's
so you're talking Manasseh Azoria-Wene,
exactly,
because he's
exactly.
been coming up with these
exactly.
investigative pieces,
exactly.
particularly on the Jospon
exactly.
Group and contracts with governments.
Exactly. And we are very concerned about that because, you know, we are quite conscious of the personal risk and discomfort at the individual and even at the corporate level that occurs when you are doing these type of investigations, because you incur the wrath of different parties across the political divide, etc.
Were you shocked that the GJA would issue a statement?
Yes, we
like
were,
that?
because we would think that, first of all, there ought to be some evidence that media and journalists are not standing by their ethical principles, etc. There was no evidence supporting what they were saying.
So you agree with the Media Foundation for West Africa on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was no, it was not factual, there was no evidence, and one would have felt that if any such incidents had happened, they would have called these individuals or entities into question and said, look, we have a concern with how you are doing this, you've not followed this principle, etc., etc. That has not occurred. So why the rush? What is the necessity of coming out with this statement at this time?
What do you think?
Well, that is why we say there is the possibility, a sinister one, that somebody may be influencing them to make a statement.
But what I'm sure you've been following what Manasseh has been doing for the past few weeks.
Yes, we have.
What do you make of the findings that are coming out from his pieces?
Let me come back that this is critical to good governance. It's absolutely essential. Indeed, there is a space that the citizen of Ghana has not been occupying. If you take the Constitution, it talks about making a democracy real by participation. It talks about ensuring accountability by participation. All that it is saying is that if enough citizens are informed about what is going on, then accountability is guaranteed. So to that extent, we can reduce corruption if adequate information is made available. Because we have not passed the Right to Information Bill, these kind of actions by Joy, by City, by what have you, are crucial to make sure information is available and citizens can then say no. So take the toll levy. If adequate information and participation had been engendered from the beginning of the process, we would have had a situation where right from the beginning, citizens would have said, no, this is not on. But you go through a whole process where resources are spent and you get to a point where there's now information and people say, this cannot go on. That's the kind of thing we want to prevent. So we are conscious that these actions by Manasseh, by Joy, by Multimedia, by other entities are critical for a thriving democracy. Very, very critical.
What should be with civil societies coming out? Media Foundation for West Africa also issued a statement. What should be the response to the Journalist Association? Because this was a statement issued by the president, but in the name of the entire group. How should we respond to that?
I think that the internal processes of the GJA should be engaged to question on what basis this press statement was made. I mean, there's a sense in which the credibility of the association is at stake. So somebody should be asking the president and his executive, what was the basis? What informed coming up with this statement? Where are the facts to suggest that some journalists have smeared local businessmen to the extent that their businesses have suffered negatively, detrimentally?
But if you look at the current investigative pieces that Manasseh is doing, certainly there's a company in the middle of this. There's a local business.
Yes, but would you call
right
that
there.
a smear campaign? I wouldn't. Facts are being unearthed. The platform has been provided for the company to also engage and say, these are the counterfacts. I don't see where there's a smear in this.
So could such pieces, such stories hurt companies like that?
Obviously, they could. They could if they were unnecessarily leaning towards just, let's say, suggestions that somebody has done something without the facts. You see, if it was just talk without substance, yes, then one could say that then there is that smear campaign. But when there are facts, one expects, and this is why anything that's done in the public space, mind you, we are talking about these issues essentially because we are talking about public-private partnership. It means that the taxpayers' money is at stake. And anything that has to do with the public, every citizen has a right to know. So you can't call this a smear campaign. The company at stake has a responsibility and an obligation to come on board and say, these are the counterfacts.
How about governments? Do they owe us anything at all?
They do.
Because we haven't heard anything. The ministry is not, the Ministry of Local Government, for instance, is not given information.
They do, and I'm concerned that these kind of non-collaborative actions takes away the shine from the new government. I'm thinking that look, we have the principal agent theory. And let me explain a bit. If you bought an Uber and you got someone to drive that Uber, you would expect that that driver would report to you regularly so that you are informed and they can be effective use of the Uber and the profits and whatnot can be determined properly. The principal agent theory is simply that sovereignty, that's Article 35(1), lies in the hands of the people. And it must be respected at all costs. And to that extent, it is the citizens of Ghana who have appointed a president and ministers, so to speak. They must regularly provide feedback to us. We should not turn that upside down. We are the principal, they are the agents.
So to the extent that there seemed to be a court order preventing the ministries who can appropriately respond to these allegations, and they're not speaking, what can we do to them?
Well,
to
I mean that's where then you take the issue higher. I mean, there's a court order, but one can go back to court to challenge it because it's in the interest of the citizens of this country that information is made available. In fact, it's a cardinal tenet of democracy. Democracy cannot thrive without the information flow. It takes all the citizens listening and saying, no. From our expertise and experience, this will not work. And so it's not helpful where we have representatives of government saying that we cannot provide information which is fundamental to getting processes to run. We are not asking for, I don't think that the information being asked for is, what do we call it? Highly sensitive. Yes.
Security?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So it's mind-boggling when people begin to say we can't provide basic information that tells us how have the systems of government been run. These contractual arrangements, did they really provide value for the people of Ghana? The monies that have been spent, couldn't they have been spent elsewhere? Have the services and products been delivered? These are very important questions we ought to be asking.
As organizations such as yours, and indeed quite a good number sign on to this release, the reason we're talking, are you prepared to take this issue up, this investigation that Manasseh is doing on another level, or we just watch Manasseh to give the facts out as he's been doing?
No. We are very concerned. I think yesterday I heard Kofi Bentil saying that if they continue to refuse to provide the information, they were willing to even take up the court aspects of it. I mean, we see this as a good opportunity to make sure that the right thing is done. And the revelations are startling. They're startling. I mean, this is just one individual, one group of companies. What else could be happening? And so it is crucial that we don't leave it the way it is. Indeed, last week I was commenting to a number of people that have been very excited at the follow-up of Joy. Because often we have an issue, we pick it, the tip of the iceberg, and then we let it lie, and then we don't get any real traction and no good results out of it. This is one instance where we think that the follow-up has been good and we should stay the course.
Okay. Do you expect more revelations?
Well, we kind of anticipate that. I mean, given what has happened so far, if the fact that we have 10 companies all belonging to the same individual at the same time, I mean,
well, we've got to wrap up. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too.
This is not the end of this conversation.
Yes,
we'll continue.
and we hope to continue engaging on it.
Mr. Adam Senanu is co-chairperson, Citizen Movement Against Corruption.